if we have to move on, Mr. Boache Dankwa, there's a lingering issue about the individual bondholders who have signed up to the IBF. They want to hit the streets and they're raising issues. We've had Kwame Pienim. Yesterday we had an interaction with Dr. Makasi Beyeboa, and they've been raising issues about how it looks like the policy was not thought through. There have been change of dates consistently since the announcement was made. How does government intend addressing these individuals who have now formed a pressure group or a front?
A forum, Roland, government is in a very difficult position as it relates to the debt restructuring and our own desire to see to it that the IMF board approves Ghana's request of $3 billion US. We are concerned about the individual bondholders, especially those that have formed the forum. And government, as a listening government, is desirous to engage them. The way to go is not to hit the street. The way to go is for the forum to engage with government so that government is able to meet our own expected desires as it relates to the economy. I've done a bit of research as it relates to global economies and global countries and how many of them have survived in the midst of these. And I would like to share.
They're all with the IMF?
They're all with the IMF. I mean, so Mozambique, as at 2019, also had to restructure their economy. And I mean, they clearly had a debt of expected close to about $900 million US. And they went through some debt restructuring of 5% until 2023, which is this year, and even 9% until maturity by 2031. Examples of Argentina in 2014 also had to swap up their debt of about $82 billion US with close to about 76% participation rate in 2005, and some additional debt swap of close to about 18 billion with about 70% rate as well as at 2010. So this is a usual phenomenon for very challenging economies around the world. Ukraine in 2014 and 15 also had to undertake close to about a 20% haircut with about 0.55% coupon increase every 4 years, and on and on and on. Greece in 2012 also had to comply with some undertakings of some official sector sponsors, and with about 50% haircuts, and that was also for a period of about 10 to 30 years. Uruguay, I mean, they are known for their football. Also had to go through some expected cuts. So if you look at a number of these countries, Russia, Iraq, and all of those countries, and how they were able to restructure their economy, the plea really from government is that all of government is burden sharing. Government has cut down expenditure costs. Government has looked at raising revenue to beef up the entire government coffers. Even with the debt exchange program, we have even stated that you can trade your own domestic bonds. You can trace that. We have also stated that 2% of some coupon rates will be given to people this year. So it's a very challenging time for government. I do not think that we want to do politics with this. We would engage the individual bondholders forum to ensure that they clearly understand how safe their money would be over the period of time, so that our debt to GDP ratio becomes extremely sustainable over the next few years.
So I think if you look at his last phrase or sentence, the understanding is that the IBF don't seem to have a deeper understanding of what the exchange program is, and then also how they need to come on board to have a certain buy-in, because it has to be burden sharing.
Well, that should just tell you the extent to which our government is without ideas. He is talking about the individual bondholders not having a clear idea. Who is supposed to engage them to bring clarity to the situation we find ourselves. So if you have a government that is impervious of how these things can be managed, you will have government spokespersons sitting here and wanting to turn the blame on these individual bondholders.
That is not what I said. I didn't blame the individual bondholders. I said that there are bigger issues within government.
Just take note of my time.
Yes, but I need to. He's raising.
I never interjected you.
No, but I need to.
I never
clarity.
interjected you. Not because everything you said was right. So please. And so, if government is unable to do the needful, but this same government that he speaks for, I find it ridiculous that he still comes to the show.
What do you mean by that?
You know,
government needs to be represented to be able to espouse.
Can I? When it was obvious that the trend that we're going to do debt restructuring, what did they say? They lampooned anyone who suggested that, look, we have reached the limits and that we're going to do debt restructuring. He came on shows and said it was not true because the Minister for Finance had said that there was not going to be debt restructuring. The President said it was not true. We're naysayers. We should not be taken for serious. Then they somersault. Instead of telling us that they are doing debt restructuring, they are not telling us it's debt exchange. Then when we told them that there is no difference between debt exchange and debt restructuring, today they are telling us, and even when they came to the debt exchange, they told another big lie, that look, individual bondholders were not going to be affected. Not so. And they gave everybody the assurance. And we told them that if you are going to attack pension funds and what have you, those were also contributed by individuals. I sat in this your studio and pointed out how the government was simply lying. Because whichever angle you pass, individuals were affected. Because, look, no institution get up and just say that I am an institution. Individuals contribute to the institution. We pointed it out. Today, pension funds have been spared. In fact, they've suspended the engagement. It's not that they have even said that they are not going to continue. If you look at the wording, they suspended. It means that they could come back to it. Then all of a sudden, you have run back to the individual bonds. That you yourself said that they were not going to be affected. Then you come and sit in the studio and say that we lack understanding. When you told us that we were not going to be affected and we took you for your word, if we cannot trust our president for what he says, who else can we trust? President tells the whole nation that no individual bondholder is going to be affected. Today, individual bondholders are being affected. And you still want me to hold our president's word that it is something that I can take anywhere? Deceptive tactics. Lying any time in order to make a certain image. You were quick to talk about those countries, right? None of those countries was eager to build a national cathedral in the times of the crisis. Those countries were eager to downsize government. You didn't talk about that. They immediately downsized the size of government. You are sitting here with a balloon government size, with everybody still in place. When they tell you cut expenditure, you tell us you are not cutting expenditure. You come and tell us that you complete national cathedral. We tell you that, look, the man who refused to listen to wise counsel and landed us in this mess.
Mr. Benamor, did you listen to the budgets? For example, workshops and things are not supposed to. Travels will not be done unless they are important.
Are VAs still being used?
Expenditure.
Are the VAs used? Will you be decent on the show? Yeah. Are VAs still being used? You don't see the V8s that they said that they were not going to use them.
Well, they said within cities.
And oh, you don't see them in the cities?
Well, I see them.
Who has dropped his V8?
I see them, but
who? Which of them has dropped their V8s?
Maybe they are traveling.
So it is muff. Do you understand? They came to do muff with the people of Ghana. And we cannot sit here. Look, and you come and tell us that you are going to change vehicle numbers from black to green. And that when you make them green, it means that they are no longer consuming fuel. And you think that that is a panacea to the situation that we find ourselves. So you see, the man at the center of this crisis is Ken Ofori-Atta. But because he is simply the brother of Akufo-Addo, President Akufo-Addo, it is impossible for the president to say, my friend or my brother, you have bombed.
How do we address the bondholders?
Look, individual bonds cannot be attacked. Look, yesterday, I wept. A lady called me from the Eastern region. And if you mind, I will even put her name and probably her details.
No.
She said she had her bond. That is what she used to pay school fees. Today, she's a 38-year-old, a single mother, who is to see her son go to the university. Admissions are here. She went to go and take her money. Her money, they say if she wants to take it now, they will cut part of the money, so she cannot even take the money. And she was in tears talking to me, and helpless I am. I cannot help her. Do you know how many people are going through such crisis? I know of an MP, I will not mention.
Are you sure? An MP?
An MP who uses this in order to support the payment of school fees. Now that you are not going to pay, now that you are saying that this year is even 0 coupon rate, how are they going to pay their award school fees? And this is an MP whose ward will come home, and what is it? Because he is unable to pay school fees. So there are many people who are going to go through this mess, and you sit down, you have not engaged the people, you just came and announced. You have the power that you owe me. Instead of coming to talk to me, to tell me that how am I going to sit down with you, you come and announce and tell me that you are going to do this. And when we talk, you tell that we lack understanding and clarity of the issues.
What sort of engagement should government undertake?
You see, first of all, there is no lack of clarity or understanding of the issues. And I am not surprised that government is facing a sort of resistance. That
you don't understand burden sharing.
What burden sharing? How can you have such lopsided burden sharing? Government is sharing absolutely no burden. The people you want to take money from are seeing how extravagantly you are living. You have a president who lives a jet-set life, hires expensive planes, and just around the world to attend sometimes very meaningless engagements and meetings. You have a government that says or that insists on building a $450 million cathedral. And after you behave like that, you expect that people who have lent you money will simply write it off and allow you to do whatever you want. And when you are unable to even engage them in a meaningful manner, you turn around and accuse them of lacking understanding. There is no lack of understanding. They simply understand one thing, that you are wasteful, you are extravagant, you are opulent, you are ostentatious. You do not deserve the sort of sympathy that you are demanding from them. And for the avoidance of doubt, Roland, we are in this mess because of the hopelessness of the economic management team led by Alhaji Bawumia and the likes of Ken Ofori-Atta and all the others who make up that team. They were intransigent, they were arrogant, they were obstinate. They will not listen to any advice given them. They deliberately made borrowing decisions that have left us bankrupt. Today, our debt to GDP ratio is 104%. When it was only 56% at the time that Alhaji Bawumia was making all the noise that he was making. Today, our inflation rate is 54%, and we have what we call it hyperinflation. We are getting very close to where Zimbabwe was a few years ago, or are still at. Today, our interest rates are almost 45%. Our dollar is behaving eclectically. I mean, it moves up one day, comes down the other day. Now it's hovering around 13, 14 Ghana cedis to $1. So the economy is in total mess. For the first time in 50 years, 5 decades, we have defaulted on our debts. This is a dismal economic scenario that has been created by the incompetence of Alhaji Bawumia and his colleagues in the economic.
Well, it has happened. They say we should burden share.
And again, if you want to share, first of all, they must share the loot. Okay, the loot that they got from bringing us into this mess is what must be shared, and not any burden. In any event, if they were sincere about sharing a burden, how come that we are not seeing signs of this burden sharing? Paragraph here says that the government has downsized, they've done this. They've not done it. What they have done is that they have created so many unnecessary agencies that are becoming a burden on the taxpayer. For instance, they have a free SHS secretariat simply because they are paying the fees of some senior high school students. When the Ghana Education Service can do this, they've been doing this for decades. They have a Petroleum Hub Development Authority, another meaningless creation that is there guzzling up money. They have a Ghana Care Secretariat. The finance minister goes to parliament to launch a slogan, and the secretariat is created for it. They have a Special Development Initiative Authority Secretariat. They have CODA, MBDA. They have One District, One Factory Secretariat. These are wasteful, duplicating agencies doing the work that can be done by existing agencies. Look, what do we need a Special Development Authority Secretariat for? When district assemblies have been there all this while, building KVIPs and digging boreholes
is there.
It's not rocket science. They are things that have been done for a long time. Why do we need a One District, One Factory Secretariat when the Ministry of Trade and Industry has a business development unit? So these have been done in order to put party people in certain positions. At a point, this government had 125 ministers, the biggest in our history. If you go to the Flagstaff House now, there are over 1,000 people calling themselves staffers. All of them guzzling money.
So you mean you don't see the burden?
They are not sharing any burden. And I'll repeat, if there's anything to share, it is the loot that they've made. Why? Ken Ofo-Yatta personally benefits from the loans that he has contracted.
He's only a shareholder.
What shareholder? Yes, so he benefits. Indeed, shareholders are the ones who benefit. They get the profits. So even as you and I have sunk into poverty, he is enriching himself. As finance minister, he has increased our public debt from 120 billion to 500 billion Ghana cedis. And the reason why they have to do this crude haircut is that the IMF is insisting that they cannot lend $3 billion to a country that has unsustainable debt. And therefore, to qualify for the IMF program, we must bring our debt to GDP levels to 55%. That is 137 billion Ghana cedis that has to be taken off our public debt. And to do that, government is saying that if you lend the money by way of bonds, they are not going to pay you interest this year. Next year, you get only 5%. And then the following year, you get 10%. The principal that you were entitled to as of 31st December 2022 and beyond, they are only going to pay it in 4 installments, 17%, 45%, and 25%. By the 15th year, when the principal would have been paid, the value of the money you lend government would have been reduced to nothing. And therefore, you will not get anything for lending government. Indeed, you will lose. People are losing as much as 300,000 Ghana cedis from this. There are people losing millions of Ghana cedis from this. And all of this is because of disastrous economic mismanagement by Alhaji Bawumia and his colleagues on the economic management team. First of all, they don't even want to accept responsibility. In any serious jurisdiction, Alhaji Bawumia will be gone.
What sort of
he will
responsibility
be gone.
acceptance?
Why? When you destroy an economy in the manner that Alhaji Bawumia has done, do you hang on? And you see, I read a most ridiculous and bizarre attempt to extricate him from responsibility. We are told that suddenly he has become a spineless, hapless leader of the economic management team, and that he has been sidelined. So people around him are the ones mismanaging the economy. And this is being told by supposed professors in our universities. They want us to shift responsibility. When Alhaji Bawumia was standing on platforms, grinning from year to year, taking credit for what he claimed to be the successes of this government, at that time he had not been sidelined. When the economy tanks, it collapses in the catastrophic way it has. Suddenly, there's an effort to extricate him. They are behaving like the way US Marines. They zoom into countries and extract people of interest to them. So Bawumia should be isolated. A brick wall should be built around him. Nobody should blame him. He should be applauded for destroying our economy in this way. And Palgrave and his colleagues in government must understand clearly that there will be no extrication for Bawumia. He will bear full responsibility for this economic disaster that he has brought upon our heads. But as for the opposition that they are facing in this debt exchange, which is only a euphemism for debt restructuring, it is not surprising. In any event, even if you were minded to do this sort of thing, you know that people are going to lose billions of Ghana cedis. You don't have the respect, the decency to engage them properly. Along the lines, you've told lies. The president stands on national television of all places and swears that there will be no haircuts. The finance minister tells us that individual bondholders will not be affected. Then in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, he comes to say that individual bondholders will be affected. Do you know what that means? That means that about 1.3 million people are going to lose 15 billion Ghana cedis of their investment. The most dangerous aspect of all this is that you know that there are state banks who get 70% of their annual revenue from the interest that they earn from their investments in these bonds. What that means is that this year,
They've been
some state banks
heavily overexposed.
Some state banks will be deprived of as much as 70% of their revenue. And when that happens, they are going to lay off their workers and their
The
banks will
finance
collapse.
ministry.
So we are in a disaster.
Or the finance
Let
minister.
people stop
When does he
making
intend
pitiful
meeting the
excuses.
IBF?
Oh, in the very shortest possible time. You are aware that
Yep.
an extension has been made to the individual bondholders signing on. We received a few data of people that have also signed on government. I need to be able to state that government has cut down expenditure. I mean, I think that the
From where?
From where? What expenditure have you
I
cut?
mean, we've cut down expenditure. We cut down
And
30%
these
of fuel.
mushroom entities
we
remain.
cut down 30%.
Mushroom
of
entities.
expenditure on
Ghana
fuel.
Care
We cut
Secretariat,
down, expenditure
Petroleum
on
Hub Development
salaries.
Authority,
We also cut
Free
down
SHS
expenditure
Secretariat,
on the
one
establishment
district,
of
one facility
new
secretariat. They all remain. I say you
enterprises.
cut down expenditure.
And
Mr.
the
Wachidakwa,
expenditure has
do you
accrued
think that the
40 to 50
concerns being
million
raised
Ghana
by
cedis.
individuals, bondholders, are just against government, or they are naysayers, they are members of the NDC?
I think no, not at all.
Or they are
Not
just
at all.
genuine?
No. Very, very genuine concerns. that
But Frank,
have
I'm not
been
on print the
raised.
rest of
No,
it.
very genuine concerns. I mean, if you have an investment in it, you're interjecting. It's my time. If you have,
Well, the time
if
is
you-
up.
No, but so you don't want me to talk.
No, so talk.
Just
So he's interjecting. So you see, if you look at the position of the individual bondholders in the forum, yes, definitely they've raised very genuine concerns, which is why government, as a listening government, has extended for negotiations to go on.
They say it's a no.
No, but government has extended, so
Right.
negotiations can go on.
Palgrave Wachidakwa is government
this is that
spokesperson
you are
on
going to
governance
extend
and
again.
security.
Extend.
Palgrave, thank you for coming. Today you are very, Charlie, high power.
Thank you.
Yeah, very unusual of you, but that's great. It makes the communication very good. And then also Bernard Modan, former chair for the PNT. He wants to be a minister, and that's also good.
I'm just a servant.
Felix Kwachio Fosu is a former deputy minister.
There will be no extension for his party for them to continue.
And parliamentary candidates, former parliamentary candidate for the NDC for Abra Asebu Kwamankesi constituency. You will be going again.
Oh, definitely, I'll be going again.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come
This
back,
time we will dislodge the MP.
No,
we are going to talk about whether donating sperms or finding alternatives for making babies is involved,
You should donate.
and how should that be done, and whether there needs to be some legislation
And
on the subject.
sperm exchange program too.
Sperm exchange program. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
You do domestic sperm exchange.